As I shared last week, we're in a series where we're going to see different characters each time, and characters that are impacted by a connection with Jesus, that come across Jesus. Last week we talked about Nicodemus, who came to Jesus at night, and today we talk about a woman who meets Jesus at Jacob's well, from John chapter 4. Jesus came to Samaria, to a Samaritan city called Sychar, which was near the land that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. Jesus was tired from his journey, so he sat down at the well. It was about noon. A Samaritan woman came to the well to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me some water to drink." His disciples had gone into the city to buy him some food. The Samaritan woman asked, "Why do you, a Jewish man, ask for something to drink from me, a Samaritan woman?" Jews and Samaritans did not associate with each other. Jesus responded, "If you recognize God's gift, and who is saying to you, 'Give me some water to drink,' you would be asking him, and he would be giving you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you don't have a bucket, and the well is deep. Where would you get this living water? You aren't greater than our father Jacob, are you? He gave this well to us, and he drank from it himself, as did his sons and his livestock." Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks from the water that I will give will never be thirsty again. The water that I give will become in those who drink it a spring of living water that bubbles up into eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I will never be thirsty and will never need to come here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go, get your husband and come back here." The woman replied, "I don't have a husband." "You're right to say I don't have a husband," Jesus answered. "You've had 5 husbands, and the man you are now living with isn't your husband. You've spoken the truth." The woman said to him, "Sir, I see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you and your people say that it's necessary to worship in Jerusalem." Jesus said to her, "Believe me, woman, the time is coming when you and your people will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. And you and your people worship what you don't know. We worship what we know because salvation is from the Jews. But the time is coming, and is here, when true worshipers will worship in spirit and truth. The Father looks for those who worship him in this way. God is spirit, and it is necessary to worship God in spirit and in truth." The woman said, I know that the Messiah is coming, the one who is called the Christ. When he comes, he will teach everything to us." Jesus said to her, "I am the one who speaks with you." Just then Jesus' disciples arrived and were shocked that he was talking with a woman. But no one asked, "What do you want?" or "Why are you talking with her?" The woman put down her water jar and went into the city. She said to the people of the city, "Come and see a man who has told me everything I've done. Could this man be the Christ?" They left the city and were on their way to see Jesus. In the meantime, the disciples spoke to Jesus, saying, "Rabbi, eat." Jesus said to them, "I have food to eat that you don't know about." The disciples asked each other, "Has someone brought him some food?" Jesus said to them, I am fed by doing the will of the one who sent me and by completing his work. Don't you have a saying, 4 more months and then it's time for the harvest? Look, I tell you, open your eyes and notice that the fields are already ripe for the harvest. Those who harvest are receiving their pay and gathering fruit for the eternal life, so that those who sow and those who harvest can celebrate together. It is a true saying, the one who sows and another harvests. I haven't sent you into the harvest to harvest what you didn't work hard for. Others worked hard, and you will share in their work. Many Samaritans in that city believed in Jesus because of the woman's word when she testified. He told me everything I've ever done. So when the Samaritans came to Jesus, they asked him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. Many more believed because of his word. And they said to the woman, we no longer believe because of what you said, for we have heard for ourselves and know that this one is truly the Savior of the world. Amen. Amen. Most gracious God, Savior of the world, speak to us this day. Amen. Amen. Well, the key word for today is social distancing. Have you heard that? Have you heard that in the community? Social distancing. We want to be social, but we want to be social at a distance. And I guarantee you, it's hard for those of us who are just gregarious and outreaching. And the reason we come to church is for the social life, isn't it? That's why we're here, you know. I was pastor of a church one time that was a big old sanctuary, set like 500 people, and there was like 100 that would come, and they'd spread out all over the sanctuary. I was like, do you all even like each other? But now we're being told to keep socially distant. And for some folks, it's like, oh yeah, the people stop bothering me and they stop coming up to me, because some of us, are like to be, a little private. And others of us are like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. We want to touch and we want to hug and we want to grab, but it's social distancing time. But here's the thing. Think about it. We already practice social distancing, don't we? We already do. Who do you stay distant from by choice? There was a time in our culture where it was socially distanced and it was labeled on the wall. For these people only, for these people only. And that still creeps into our hearts, doesn't it? I'll hang out with these people, I won't hang out with these people. We want to socially distance right from the criminal element. We want to socially distance from people who have different values than us. We want to socially distance ourselves from those who might negatively impact our lives. We practice social distancing. We'll just pick and choose who and what kind of categories we put people in and keep them socially distant. Much like Samaritans and Jews kept themselves socially distant. Samaritans worshipped Yahweh. They worshipped the God of Israel. They just didn't have it right. And so they were kept at a social distance. We do the same thing. We keep our social distance. And everybody keeps their social distance from those whose lives kind of reflect something that's a bit negative. Or, we don't socially want to go to certain areas of town because those people hang out there. We don't want to do that kind of thing, and nobody would want to hang out with this woman who came to Jesus, because she's a woman that's already experienced rejection. I mean, the harshest of social distancing. She's had 5 husbands. This is a woman well acquainted with rejection. Whether it's been divorce or just broken relationships, she has a history of broken relationships, and so people want to keep their distance from her. It's pretty clear why she comes out to the well at noontime. You come out in the heat of the day when you don't want to be around anybody, or nobody wants to be around you. The time you go to a well, when you have to work for your water, and there are still places across our globe that people have to walk distances to get their water, you do it in the cool of the morning, or as the sun's going down in the evening. And the well, particularly Jacob's well, is a place of social gathering. It's a place where people come together because it's the only well in the area. And people come together and they catch up on the news. It was Facebook, you know? It was where people came together and you came face to face. It was a social gathering place in the morning and in the evening when everybody was coming to get their water. But this woman's coming in the middle of the day. She's expecting social distancing. She's expecting no one to be there. She's expecting not to feel rejection at that time. But here's the thing. As the conversation with Jesus shows, this is a fairly bright woman. This is somebody who's clever and spiritually hungry and asking appropriate questions and delving deep. So this is somebody that's got some mental and capabilities. And certainly someone who's thinking about her spiritual life and thinking about how to live her life and reflecting on things. So here's an intelligent woman. In fact, the longest conversation that Jesus has with anybody in all of the scriptures. It's an engaging conversation. It's a conversation about worship. It's a conversation about practices. It's a conversation about a lot of details of things. And the people of the town, when she goes back, they actually listen to her because she obviously speaks with intelligence. She has a passion about her voice. Even though she's been socially distanced and rejected, people are listening to her. So this is a woman of some kind of substance. But she's also been rejected. She's also been rejected. Jesus notices her rejected spirit. Jesus notices her broken heart. And Jesus crosses the social lines and the custom lines of his time to have social interaction. And more than that, Jesus humbles himself. Can you give me a drink of water? You, a social outcast, a person I'm not supposed to talk to, can you help me, a Jewish rabbi, a teacher that people are following? Can you provide a service for me? Can you help me out? Not me teach you, but can you help me? Jesus has humbled himself to put himself in a place where he needs her presence. She carries a pain and a rejection and a guilt and a shame that is so burdensome for her, she doesn't want to be around people. But Jesus offers to lift that burden of her heart, but he does it by being humble and entering into a conversation with her and meeting her where she's at. Social distancing is overcome in a simple conversation. We do it all too often, don't we? Keep people at a social distance. There's something about the grace that can come to us when we can just be known and tell our story, as the woman got to share with Jesus. There was a time, this is 1989, and the time period is important, 1989, that I was visiting in a hospital. And one of the nurses recognized me as a pastor. I had introduced myself and said I want to visit with a member of my congregation, and went in there. When I came out of visiting with some of my congregation, this nurse stopped me and she said, there is a woman in the room at the very end of the hall, the very last room down, that has had nobody come to see her. Nobody at all come to see her. And I'm sure she could use the company. And of course, first thought through my mind was, well, You could talk to her, but you know, why has nobody been to see her when there's all these people that are in a hospital? And so I went down to the room, and it looked like a crime scene. There was like tape all over it, all over the doorway and around the doorway about, you know, cautious of entering, caution this and that. Be sure to gown up, you know, wash in, wash out, that sort of thing, and all that gowning stuff. So I'm like, well, obviously no one has come to see her because it's too much work, you know. And so I wash up, and I put on the gown, and I put on the gloves, and I put on the mask, and I walk into the room to find a woman not laying in bed with a desperate disease, but just sitting on the end of her bed, seeming to be fine. But her shoulders obviously carrying a heavy burden. And no one had been to see her. And she confirmed that. She said, my family won't even come to see me. And I said, well, I've got to ask, what's going on? What do you have? I mean, because on the outside she looked fine. She says, well, they don't know yet. They don't know yet. And you have all this going on. While we're having a conversation, somebody comes by to deliver the lunch and doesn't come in and offer her lunch, but stands outside the door and puts the lunch on the little hamper for the gowns where you throw it off, and says to me, could you push that over to her? No one was wanting to come within 20 feet of this woman. And I brought her lunch over, and we're still chatting. And when she got confident enough, she said, well, they've tested me for HIV. It was an epidemic at the time, in 1989. We were just discovering it. But we also had discovered that it can only be passed by sharing body fluids. And there's no fear in walking into a room with somebody. And I sat on the bed next to her, and we prayed together. We keep our distances from the things that we're scared of. We keep our distances from the things that we're afraid of. And the thing is, we were made for social contact. Which makes this time so desperate for us here and now. We are desperate for social contact. We were created by God for each other. It says that in the beginning in Genesis, you know, for each other. God created a male and female for each other to be together. We were created in community. Even we understand God in a sense of community. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, 3 in 1. There's a sense of community there. We are made by a community kind of God for community purposes. That's why we love church. That's why we crave it. We get a sense of community there. We love our community, and when we are rejected, ostracized, pushed away, it becomes a desperate time. It becomes a very desperate time. More than anything else, we crave to be included. Rejection is a death sentence. A death sentence. So much so that we've seen the craving on social media and other places to actually become a danger. The teenage girl that is so hungry for acceptance that she befriends that boy in social media. And they chat back and forth and texting and Facebook and all the other social media things. I know teenagers don't use Facebook anymore. They use other things. But the emotional attachment happens. And she will do anything for the attention and the inclusion and to be loved and to be cared for. And the boy, when they finally meet, turns out to be a middle-aged predator. Because predators hang out at the well, the gathering place. The hunger for love and acceptance and inclusion can lead us to places that we become very, very desperate. And there's a brokenness. And Jesus wants to offer life. Life that's abundant, life that's in the community. You notice that when the woman leaves the well, she actually goes to talk with people. She goes to the city, and people listen to her. We need wells. We need places where we gather. We need that social life, and we also need to be sent out to do the evangelistic mission work that's expected or hoped for. There are young adult college students on our campuses these days, right here in Broward campus, that are so food insecure that they're gathering for the food that we're doing. Nourishing Lives is now reaching out on college campuses, not just elementary schools. And they're coming around the place where the food is being offered, and they're coming together. They're coming around the well. That's going to be an opportunity for us to be the body of Christ, isn't it? To be Jesus Christ and to offer the cravings of their hearts and their lives for social gathering and coming together. Because you see, there's something that happens in the encounter with Jesus Christ. And the encounter lifts us with life so much so that there has to be a social element and it has to be shared. The woman gets up and she goes back into the city and she shares the good news. It's one of the first stories we hear of an evangelist helping people to believe and to follow in Jesus Christ. Do you know that around the world there are missions that we have gone to develop wells? For decades, maybe centuries now, it's been America has sent missionaries all over the place, and wells are a big thing. You know, we're going to put in a well, we're going to put in pumps, we're going to put in water purification, we're going to help people have pure water in places like Africa and Asia, and we're going to share the love of Christ by providing wells and giving them water. And we've done that, and they've received wells. And you know what the people in Africa and Asia are doing now? In those Christian communities that have developed from missionaries that have gone over the decades and centuries past? They're recognizing the spiritual need of a broken nation like the United States, and they are sending missionaries here. Africa and Asia are sending missionaries to the United States to start churches, to found communities that are extremely diverse and inclusive and loving and sharing the good news. The city folks that the woman went to, they came running back to Jesus, and they probably began sharing the news, because by the time the early church starts, this area is filled with folks that are Christian in Samaria, that are followers of Christ. Jesus wants to meet us in the midst of our rejection and brokenness, and he does. Jesus wants to offer us grace and love and teaching and inclusion, as he did with the woman at the well and as he does with us. Jesus wants to offer us community and social life together. And he does. And when Jesus does, it becomes the opportunity for us, as we receive this good news, to jump up and run to the place where people are gathered, run to the well, run to the college campus, run to the school, run to the restaurants where people are gathering, run to the clubs, and to say, hey, look, we know a Savior who has come to give us life, and life abundant. Amen? Amen. Most gracious God, we thank you for your loving presence. May your power be real. Some of us come today, Lord, in our rejection and our brokenness, and we need your grace. Some of us come together today, Lord, with a celebration that you have truly spoken into our hearts and lives and transformed us, and we need your encouragement and sending with your Spirit to go and share the good news. Meet us here where we are, Lord, and fill us with your love. Amen.